So FlutterFlow recently released some awesome and very powerful functionality. And actually, this is the type of functionality that I've been waiting for quite a while. And so in today's video, I'm going to be explaining to you what those new features are. And I'm also going to be showing you how you can use and leverage these features in your app. And I'm also going to be sharing with you which one of these features is my absolute favorite. Now, before we get started, as always, all the apps and all the resources that I demonstrate on this channel are going to be available to view and or clone from my Patreon page. And if you're still not a member of our amazing, rapidly growing Patreon community, then you can learn more about it and perhaps become a member. You can do so via the link in the description below the video. Now, the first feature that I'm super excited to share with you is the ability to have parameters with callback actions, okay? And so this is a feature that I've been waiting for quite a while, and it's a very, very powerful feature. And so let me show you exactly what this new feature allows you to do. All right, so here I am inside of FlutterFlow, and on this first page, I have here a simple form, right? So we have name, email, suggestions, and we have a submit button. Now, what's special about this form is that it's completely built as a custom widget. This is not a FlutterFlow form. These are not FlutterFlow elements, okay? This is a custom form that I built using ChatGPT. You can build it with code if you want. Now, what's special about this feature is that it allows you to easily connect whatever happens with this form, the results, any actions, anything that happens with this custom form, with this custom widget, to your app. Okay, so let me show you how this works. So if I run this app, I see this form, right? And what I can do is I can simply fill it out. I can say, well, James is my name. My email is, let's say this, and suggestions is, great channel. You should make more videos. Now, if I press submit, I get back a snack bar from FlutterFlow that says hello from action callback. And it says James at james.com, okay? And so this form here is a custom widget, okay? But when I press submit, it passes all of this data to our FlutterFlow app. And this is something that you couldn't do as easily as you could now. Let me show you another example. So in the second example, we have another custom widget here. And in this case, we have this really cool calendar widget, right? So check this out. I can roll the months, I can roll the years, and I can pick. So let's say I want year 26. Let's say I'm looking for, I don't know, December. And let's say I want December 5th. Now, when I do that, I get back a callback. Okay, that was kind of fast, but you see it. 26, 1207. It says here 1208. And so once again, this is a custom widget that I did not build myself. I did not build using FlutterFlow. I actually went over to pop.dev and I downloaded and I linked it to my FlutterFlow app. I connected it to my FlutterFlow app. And as a result, everything that happens in this widget, my FlutterFlow app knows about, and I can use that information to keep building my app. And once again, if you wanted to do something like this before, it was very, very tricky and actually fairly challenging, right? You had to be fairly experienced with FlutterFlow to essentially link custom widgets that you can get elsewhere and connect them to your app as though you're using a stock FlutterFlow widget. Okay, so how exactly does this work? Well, let's go back to our FlutterFlow UI builder here. And as you can see, this here is a custom widget. Okay, so if we click over here, we have this get feedback custom widget. And this whole thing I built using ChatGPT. Okay, and if you are a Patreon member, you're going to get access to not only this entire app, but I'm also going to make available my ChatGPT conversation. And so the first thing that you need to do is you need to add a parameter that's an action, right? This is this last parameter here. And so once you add this, you can add parameters. Now, before you couldn't do this, right? You couldn't add parameters. Now you can add as many parameters as you want. And so what kind of parameters are we talking about? Well, remember, this here is a form. So I need three things, at least three things. I need a name, an email, and suggestions. I want this custom widget to make all of these things available to my app, right? I want my app to know, what was the name submitted, what was the email submitted, as well as what were the suggestions that were submitted. And so I come back here, I create this thing here, which I already did, and I specified that I want 3 parameters. Well, in this case, I simplified it with 2 parameters, right? I just said I only care about the name and the email, okay? So once I do this, I'm gonna have this thing right here, right? So once I configure this, I can simply click here, and I can see how the code is generated, right? So it ends up generating this function here, and this function here. So all I need to do is take this, paste it into my custom widget here that was generated with ChatGPT, and then later on in my code, I can call this callback with these parameters. And then I jump back into the UI, I select my widget, and I can configure a flow, right? So as you can see, I already have this flow. I can open this up, and as a result, I can do something inside of my FlutterFlow app. So in this case, I'm just showing a snack bar, but I can insert a row into my Supabase database. I can navigate to another page. I can display a message as a dialog box. There's so many things that I can do, and all of this thanks to this new functionality where not only can I specify a callback to be called and build a flow after that callback has been called, but I can also configure this callback with multiple parameters, which wasn't possible before. So whether I need just 1 parameter or I want 10 parameters, I can easily do this with this functionality. And here we are on the second page where I was showing you this amazing calendar widget. And so if we jump back here into our custom widgets, as you can see, I have this calendar widget, right? And this is the calendar widget from here. So if you head over to pub.dev and you search for any calendar widgets, you're gonna have tons and tons of different calendar widgets to choose from, and these calendar widgets are going to be pretty cool. They're going to be better than the stock calendar widget that comes with FlutterFlow. The stock calendar widget is nice, it works, it does the job, but here you have lots of different widgets to choose from. And so if you want a widget that works like this, you can simply head over to example, copy this example here, come back over here, paste it in here, and then create a parameter. So in our case, I have a function here, a callback function called save date. Okay, you can obviously call it whatever you want. And I'm passing in this new date, right? So whatever the date the user picks after they finish scrolling through the years, the months, the days, they select the day. My callback is going to get executed, right? Because this is the callback here. So we have this callback here, save date, and here we have on date selected, which is a function that gets called whenever the user chooses a date. And all I did was I said, well, you know, when this function gets called, simply call my callback with the new date. And again, this is something that you couldn't do before. You could have called the callback, but you wouldn't be able to pass the parameter. And that is why this is so much more powerful and allows you to build amazing apps, right? So now I have this configured here. And if I go back into my UI builder, I select my calendar widget, I scroll down, and here I have the save date. And this save date callback is implemented as a flow, right? So I can open this up and I can create a flow that will take place, that will get executed after my callback is executed inside of my custom widget. So once again, I decided to keep it simple and just show a snack bar. And so here I am showing a snack bar, and it says here, hello from action callback. And when I click here, what I can do is I can select my callback parameter, right? So in this case, I only have 1 callback parameter. In the previous example, we had 2 callback parameters, namely name and email. And so this is going to depend on how many callback parameters you have defined in your custom widget. You can have 5, you can have 1, you can have 9. It's really, really up to you. It really depends on your specific use case. And here I have 1 parameter, and it is available in my app. I can use that parameter anywhere. I can update a page state variable if I want. I can send an email. I can navigate. This is really, really awesome functionality. And essentially, this gives you a bridge. This allows you to connect your FlutterFlow app to custom stuff, custom widgets, custom functionality. You can use ChatGPT to generate the code, and you can create any kind of widget that you want and easily connect it to your FlutterFlow app right here using the callback and the parameters. Now, the second amazing feature that I want to show you are the upgrades to the data table widget. Okay, so here we have another page here with this data table, and I have this fed from a Supabase database. And so here I have a list of cities as well as the list of states that these cities are in, okay? And so we have a list of 50 cities, and this new data table gives you a ton of extra functionality. So the first thing that it gives you is sorting, right? So if I click on name, this is going to sort the list of cities, right? It's going to toggle the sort. Okay, so now it's from Z to A. If I click on this again, now it's from A to Z. Same thing here with the state, right? If I click on state, now it's from Z to A. If I click it again, it's from A to Z, okay? Another thing that you can do with it is you can select multiple options, okay? So let's say I select 4 cities and I click here, show selected items, and it tells me there are 4 selected items. Essentially, when you select the items that you need, your app is gonna know about, right? So if I select, let's say 6 items and I click here, it says here, there are 6 selected items, and really your app knows exactly which items are selected. It's just in this case, I am simply displaying the number of items, okay? Another thing that you can do is you have full paging capability, right? So we have 50 items here, and I can show 5 at a time, right? So now I'm seeing 5, and I can page by page, 5 items at a time. If I want to, I can come back, and let's say I want to show 50 items. Okay, so now I have a scrolling data table, right? I have a scrolling view that lists all the 50 items at once. I can do maybe 25 at a time, right? So now I'm going to have 2 pages, and I have paging. So you have some amazing things that are now built into this data table, right? And how exactly does this work? How exactly is this implemented? Well, let's go back to our app here, and let's go ahead and look at the second example here, right? And this is our data table here. Now, when you're using a data table, you need to figure out beforehand where the data that you're going to be displaying is going to come from, okay? So in our case, I am using Supabase here, and here I have a table called A Cities, and we have 2 user-defined columns. We have these built-in columns that I chose to keep, but we have these 2 other columns. One is name, the other is state, and we have a list of cities and a list of states. Now, after you've configured the source of your data, you need to make sure that the data table can access and display this data. And so the way that I have it set up here is I have this data table here, but I have a column that is a parent widget here. So this data table is a child of a column, which is a pretty standard setup, right? You're going to have a column, and then you're going to place all your elements. And so on this column level, I am doing an API call that connects to my Supabase database, right? So if I edit this, I have an API call that connects to this table here, okay? And that way, this data table can access all the data that we get as a result of this API call. And so on this data table, if you click over here, you can generate children from a variable, right? So what is the variable? It's this thing here, get projects response, which is the response from the API call, right? So here we get the whole API. Here I'm just getting the JSON body. And because this is essentially a list of items that we're getting, a list of records, each one of them is going to be called city item, right? You can call it whatever you want, obviously. And next, for each of the cells here, I'm displaying the name here and the state here using this JSON path here, okay? And then my column headers here, I'm just simply calling them name here and state here. Now, there's a couple of more things that you need to do on this data table, right? So if you select this data table, you can configure various things, right? So you can configure pagination. Maybe you want pagination, maybe you do not want pagination. You can also make it selectable, right? So remember how I was able to select different items? Well, that is something that you can do here. So if I disable that, you see I don't see those checkboxes anymore. But if I click here, I see those checkboxes now. And same thing with pagination. I can disable it, I don't see it anymore, or I can enable it here. Now, there's still a couple of things that you want to do. If you click on this data table header, you can make it sortable or not, right? So that is also an option. In our case, I decided to make both name and state sortable, right? So I have this name here, it is sortable. And then I have this state here, which is sortable as well. Okay, now if you hover over, you will see that this allows you to set whether the column is sortable or not. Okay, but it tells you you must handle sorting on your own using the onsort changed action on the data table. Okay, this will not be taken care of automatically for you. Okay, so what this means is that you're going to select this data table right here, and you're going to click here, and you're going to open this up. And as you can see, I have this onsort change. Okay, and this happens anytime the user clicks on the header, right? Once we have the sorting enabled, anytime the user clicks on the header, this is going to get executed. And because I have two columns, I have here a condition. Okay, so here we get a variable, we get a data table sort column index. Okay, so essentially data table tells us the user clicked on column 0 or column 1. And so depending on what the user clicked on, we have a different action. Now, the way that I have this set up is I'm using a page state variable that's defined here. You can see it right here, and this variable is called sort config. And this is based on sort type, which is a data type. And this sort type has two fields: the field that we're going to be sorting and whether we're going to be sorting in ascending order or in descending order, right? So the fields such as name or state, and ascending, whether this is going to be from A to Z or from Z to A. And these two fields are part of the sort type here. And as a result, I can come back here and I can simply create a page state variable, which is of this type, of sort type, and I just called it sort config. And then depending on what happens, I am basically setting the values in that variable. And when it's time to sort the data and get back the sorted data, I'm actually executing an API call. Here I have query parameters. So the first one is select, where I'm saying I want all the data, right? I want all the fields. And the second one is where the magic happens, because this essentially specifies what exactly we're going to be sorting on and how we're going to be sorting on. Is it going to be ascending or descending? And so here in this variables, I have this order variable that I pass depending on what my page state variable is. So if the user picks that they want to sort by the name of the city, then this is going to have a specific sort. If the user picks that they want to sort by the state, then I pass state, and then depending on if they want ascending, I specify ascending. If they want descending, I specify ascending as false. And all of that gets sent to our Supabase via the API. And as a result, we get back a sorted list that gets rebuilt and refreshed automatically thanks to our page state variable. And as a result, we have this really cool flow where you can sort any way that you want. You can sort in descending order, you can sort in ascending order, and you can sort by any field, by any column that you want. And so this is really nice functionality. And in fact, going forward, I think I'm going to be using this data table a lot. I'm going to be using for all kinds of situations where I need to display any kind of data in this table format. Last but not least, we now have an ability to reuse the app that you've built in FlutterFlow in some of your other projects. And so let's say you're building some kind of a Flutter app, or you've hired somebody to build you some kind of a Flutter app, or you've discovered some kind of a Flutter app that you want to combine with the app that you've built in FlutterFlow. Well, right now it's really easy and straightforward to do exactly this. Let me show you exactly how this works. The first thing that you need to do is you need to Google for FlutterFlow CLI. CLI stands for Command Line Interface. And so once you do that, you're going to end up on this page. And here you can learn more about this, right? So the first thing that you need to do is you need to get this token. And you can easily do that by visiting your FlutterFlow account page. So here I have a token that I have created. All you need to do is copy it. And once you've gotten your token, you're going to go ahead and execute this command line here. So there's lots of options here. You need to specify the project. You need to specify the token, you need to specify a bunch of other things. But essentially what this is going to do is it's going to get your project. It's going to get a specific project and download it locally onto your hard drive here. And this is exactly what I did here. I have this project here in my module because this functionality allowed me to get my entire project as a module. Now, at this point, you may be asking yourself, why am I downloading this as a module? Am I not building an app? Isn't this an app? Why is this a module? Well, because when you download it as a module, it makes it super easy to reuse all or certain parts of the app that you built in FlutterFlow in another app that you may be building, or you may have hired somebody else to build, or maybe you found this app as an open source project, etc., etc. So here I have a very, very simple Flutter app, and this is actually a starter app. This is the type of app that you see, that you learn, that you study if you're starting out with Flutter. So if I run this app, this is what you're going to see. And as you can see, this is a very, very simple Flutter app. This is a Flutter demo homepage. And if you click this, it's going to increment this number. This is pretty much everything that this app does. Now, in the same directory as this app, I have this my module, which is my app that I just showed you. I basically imported using the FlutterFlow CLI, and I downloaded here as a module. And so because I was able to download it onto my computer as a module, I can use all the widgets, all the functions, or just some of the functions in this new app that I just demonstrated to you. So let me show you exactly what you need to do. First, we are going to include my FlutterFlow app in this app here by specifying this. And now I have access to the entire app from this app. So let's say I want to include that get feedback module that I showed you in the beginning of the video. So all I need to do is include this get feedback definition file, this file here, and then I can simply use that custom widget anywhere in this app. So let's say I want to list it right here. We have a list of children widgets here. And let's say I want to list it here. So I'm just going to say get feedback here. And that's it. And now if I run this app should include the widget in the other app that I built in FlutterFlow. So let's go ahead and run this app now and see how it looks. And so here's the new app. And as you can see, apart from this that we saw before, we are now seeing this widget here that I built in FlutterFlow. We basically took the stuff that we built with FlutterFlow and we included it, essentially embedded it into another app that we are building now. So as you can see, this works. I can submit this and I can fill out the stuff here. And this is all going to work as expected. And so this feature allows you to link different apps that you may be building. You can take your FlutterFlow app, take any or all functionality, including custom widgets, custom actions, custom functions, and use it in some of the other apps that you may be building as well. Really, really cool feature, tons and tons of potential for some of the bigger projects. And so these are really, really awesome features. I don't know which one is my favorite. The first feature that we talked about, this is a feature that I've been waiting for a long, long time. So I'm really, really happy that we have it now, because it opens the door to lots of really awesome integrations with custom widgets and custom stuff that you can get elsewhere to make your FlutterFlow app more aesthetically pleasing, more interesting, and more unique, more exciting for your users. The second feature is also awesome. Data table is something that you're going to be using all the time, and now it has some really nice additions, really nice upgrades. So I definitely see myself at least using data table from now on in a lot of my future projects. And the last feature gives you a very, very powerful bridge between FlutterFlow and different projects that you may be building with Flutter, or maybe you found some app that you want to combine with your existing FlutterFlow app. So a very, very powerful and an underrated feature all in itself. Now, the best way to master this functionality and perhaps even leverage this functionality in some of your projects, maybe in the apps that you're building right now, or in some of your future projects, is to view, or even better, be able to clone this app right here. Because while these are awesome features, there's still some gotchas that you need to be aware of. And the best way to kind of figure out exactly what's happening, see what's happening behind the scenes, is to obviously be able to clone this app. And you can do just that when you become a member of our amazing Patreon community. Because when you join our amazing Patreon community, you're not only going to be supporting this channel and supporting my work, but you'll also get access to not only this app, but every single app that I build on this channel. So if I did a video on this channel about a particular app, you can be sure that you can find that app on my Patreon page. In addition, you're also going to get access to some amazing extra content. So things like Q&As, live streams, behind the scenes content, and our Patreon supported masterclass series where I do extensive deep dives covering some interesting tools, apps, various techniques, essentially everything that the community asks for, things that the community might not be 100% sure of. If they want more clarification, we have a poll, and what the community decides, this is exactly what I do. So a couple of weeks ago, we did a deep dive on an amazing tool called Build Chip. So if you're using this tool, you're going to learn something new for sure when you watch this deep dive. And in fact, later this week, I'm going to be doing an extensive Q&A that's going to be answering all of your questions. So if you're stuck somewhere, you don't know how to do something, then you can ask your question, and I'll be sure to definitely cover it in our upcoming Q&A. And really, regardless what your goals are when it comes to no code, whether you want to take it up a notch, you want to build apps, you want to start a software business, you want to do consulting, you want to do freelancing, or you just want to learn something new, you'll be able to find exactly what you're looking for in our amazing Patreon community. And so if you're getting value from these videos, you're going to get a ton more value when you become a member. And you can do just that via the link in the description below the video.